Hey guys, Matt, Iron Trap Garage, and we're back working on the 33 3-window project that we've been making a lot of progress on early in this winter, which has been pretty awesome. So now what we're ready to do is continue to add some support and structure to this car. So the next thing we're going to do is actually add some tubing. So I've had this Eastwood hydraulic tubing bender sitting in the corner in a crate for pretty much all summer, kind of expecting to do some of these projects over the winter. And now it's finally time to use it. So we got the bender all set up. We did a nice test bend right here, which has been good. And we have some 1.5 inch DOM tubing here that I picked up that we're going to be making a kind of like a multi-purpose support bar. I don't know what you want to call it, but basically we're going to be using this, making a hoop around the back of the cab of the car that's going to push against the B-pillars and is going to connect into the floors, and is also going to double as our area for our trunk hinges to connect to. Trunk hinges were basically kind of interconnected into some of the wood that went around the rear window. That stuff is completely, totally missing. The B-pillar wood on this car, after some further inspection, is actually not in very bad shape at all. All the flex I was seeing was actually in the sheet metal, and the metal in the car and the body from having all of the substructure just cut out. So once we braced everything up, the wood does not move at all. So what I'm going to do is kind of take the easy way out, if you will, and I'm going to retain the B-pillar wood in the car because it's not too bad. And we're going to build some bracing that's going to wrap around the back, kind of push on those B-pillars to keep them from wanting to move at all. And then it's also going to give us some extra spots to connect the trunk hinges to. So this is kind of like my first big tubing bending project like this, so I hope that I got enough tubing for this and I don't mess it up too bad. But I picked up some tools, I got my angle finder and everything, and I went in the back corner, got that all figured out. We test fitted the seat from the Schroll car in this car, and it actually fits pretty darn nice, and I found that you could push the seat back pretty far. So we need to tuck this bar pretty much as far back as we can go in the body, so that it doesn't interfere with the back of the seat. So I'm going to take some measurements, we're going to lay stuff out on this tubing here, and we're going to start bending up some tubing, and hopefully have some bracing done by the end of this video. So let's get started. Alright, so first things first, we got the seat sitting in here like I mentioned. I have it pulled forward just a little bit. But basically in this back corner here, we want to tuck that bar back here like I mentioned. So I picked up just a cheap, this is one of those things that you pretty much need to buy like 3 of them because you'll probably lose them like I do. So the last one I had got broken or missing or disappeared, I don't know. So I got a cheap angle finder from Harbor Freight. You can grab that and it works out pretty well. So what I was doing is fitting that in here and trying to sit this and see what our angle was on this. And when I set this in here, it looks like a 30-degree angle is what's coming up on this, so I'll lock this down, and that's what we're going to use for the bends in the corner here. And that bend is a little deceiving. I thought, oh, it's a 90-degree bend. We bent up that 90-degree test piece and we fit it in here, and it was totally off. It was like shooting back in too much. So it's actually a more shallow bend because it kind of goes out here into the B-pillar. So we're going to do basically like a 30-35 degree bend in there, and then I need to take some measurements for the center section here and calculate what we need to actually fit that bar in there. I'm going to try and do it out of one piece. Hopefully I can. Again, beginner here. Looks. Alright, so when I was using my angle finder and I put that in the corner, I kind of realized after I was starting to look at what a 30-degree bend was that it was not a 30-degree bend because this angle finder is too short. It couldn't basically go the whole like large radius that was, so it wasn't giving us a good reading because it couldn't touch on the ends of it. So what I ended up deciding to do is I basically just crept up on it, and I have to wreck some tubing because I'm just learning here. So I basically ended up bending it to a 70-degree angle, which when we had our 90-degree piece that I made for a sample just to take measurements to see what kind of tubing length it would take to make a 90-degree bend for future projects. I held it up and it was obvious that 90 degree was too much. So it didn't look like it was that shallow, and that's what kind of, and I kind of jokingly said, oh, it looks like a 70-degree angle it needs. Well, I ended up bending it and it's a 70-degree angle is what it basically should take. So now that we have that figured out and I have this sample piece that's basically what we need for the corners, I know what the length of this was. It was 18 inches before I started bending. That was what the straight section was that we're going to be bending. So I can use this for the corners and then basically measure between these two sections for the flat, and that should give me our hoop that we need to make. So I'm going to take some more measurements, and I think, fingers crossed, I should be able to bend something up and hopefully it'll fit the car.
Hey, look at that. That's pretty good.
I'll take a couple tests. Yeah, so give it a... I don't know anything about it. Alright, Steve, this is the point where it's your fault. It's your fault.
Die edge of it and this edge of it.
Yeah. And then that's gotta be...
Well, here, let's snug it up first.
I would have left it at 0.1.
I know. I touched it.
Yeah, leave that alone.
And snug that down, we'll see if it changes.
Hyundai, taking a job at Wawa.
Thing is kind of loud.
It's very, very.
I don't know if I can do that all day building the roll cage.
You put headphones in.
Yeah, I guess so.
Be able to hear it.
I can get mine.
1 second. Oh, put it out.
Rotate to get over that.
Over what?
Those,
Oh, yeah, we're back.
I'm on my side, I'm not.
Needs a tiny bit more.
Yeah, yours is like, this one still feels like it's not quite, well, it could be your side maybe. No, yours actually looks pretty, it's getting pretty close.
Yeah, it needs.
Like a couple more degrees, but it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually want to push it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like within a, 0.3. Damn, they're about the same. That one's 0.3 less than that one, so we're at 74 on both, basically. That one is a little under, so if we were gonna do one, is that the one that said 73 on it? Yes. Yeah, so this is the one that was on my side,
Yep.
so let's go a little, tiny bit more on that side. Maybe we should do both.
I mean, they're only 0.3 off.
So yeah, we should probably do a couple degrees on each one, I guess.
Because the reason is just we're putting one side in first.
Yeah,
We're
I
just
know.
trying to jam the other in. So if we, I think if we do them equally, it'll be okay. What time is it? See if we can run that.
What did we say we're at 73? So we'll set this to 73 when it's loaded.
Yeah. Just about there.
You're really not off that much, especially with this pointer.
78. Because they're both still pointed out past those, so we need to bring them both in. 78 for both. I think that's too much.
Okay. Two. Maybe about the same. So we'll set it to 73. Or no, it's 73 or 4. I think it's actually supposed to be 4.
Yeah, you got that good. That means it's easy to flash out a little bit. 73. Now hold on a second. Let me put my end. Send out. Up. I can dip yours out. Nice.
Oh yeah. I can work with that. How far away is yours from the wood?
Half an inch.
That's about what I got. Good, that's what I wanted. We can tuck that up in there, or we can go, I can go under too and adjust it. I haven't decided yet, but All right, so I got all the welding done. I had to lay inside the trunk and get all around everything, but it welded up pretty good. And I was able to get just a little bit of dusting of paint on here. We didn't really show it on camera, but before I actually put the bar in for the final time and welded everything in, I sanded it, all the area that's hidden by the bar, and got all the surface rust off, got it all nice clean metal. We threw some Eastwood Rust Encapsulator on there to seal everything up, and it also hit the whole entire bar as well with Rust Encapsulator to seal up the bar, just to make sure that the areas that we can't get behind aren't going to rust in the future. Now, the last couple shots, we welded those uprights in, and I also got these little brackets. Ended up drilling holes and countersinking them so we could run some old school flathead screws that were actually somewhere else in a random piece of wood in the B-pillar. We were able to run them in here. And when we took off the pieces of wood that were on here, finally when we were all set and done, we thought that was maybe because they cut the wood back in here. I think they put those pieces of wood in there because the doors were hanging so poorly that they thought maybe the B-pillars were flexing like I did in the beginning. And it was really just that the door hinges were bent that bad and the whole car was such a floppy mess. That was what the problem was, and it wasn't really the B-pillar wood. We took that off, and there's really nothing wrong with the B-pillar wood. I don't know what they were thinking that little strip of wood would do, but it's nice that we could take it off. I got these screws put back in here that are strictly just to hold this flange against the wood. The bar itself is pretty tight up behind the B-pillar wood. It's bolted into those trunk hinge brackets, and then of course these upright bars are actually welded to the floor. Now if we were building a roll cage or something that was made to save you in a rollover, yes, definitely we would have wanted to put some sort of pad down here that was a larger diameter, but really this is just to strengthen up the whole body overall, and I chose to forgo that. I chose to not do that and just weld the bar right to the 14 gauge floor, and it worked out pretty good. So now the car is like insanely solid with that in there. It's really crazy how much it locked everything in, which is, you know, obviously was the goal. So now that this is bolted in with the trunk hinge, we can work on getting the trunk to actually open and shut and fit better. I realized that we're missing the two little pins that go through in the pivot point of the trunk. So I'll have to get two pins to go in there, no big deal. And then I can work on getting the trunk to actually open and shut and fit. Right now the gaps are kind of crappy. It's a little tight at the bottom. And we gotta get those pins in there to see exactly what the problem is. But this was a huge upgrade in the project. In a matter of what, 3 videos, I think, we took this car from a wet noodle to something that is very solid and is moving right along. So thank you guys for following along. Appreciate it. Hopefully maybe this gives you some ideas for a car that you're doing that is similar, where you want to add some rigidity to a car that is quite floppy. This is something that you could do with just a handful of tools and a little bit of tubing. Thanks guys. Catch you later.